Evening, good evening, good evening. That one. Wrong one. Hey. There we go. That should be better. Good evening. Welcome back to the One Celtic fans view. And I hope you're all fine this evening. And just double check one thing before we go ahead. There's lots of people in the chat. The One Celtic fans view. It's all good. I'm just trying to catch up with some of the comments. I'm just going to get straight into it. I'm going to go through the Martin O'Neill interview first of all. Turn that light down, it's a bit bright. Going to give you a summary of the Martin O'Neill interview as I saw it. The general mood from Martin O'Neill was obviously pleased with the overall recent win and the performance in the last game. He says that the players are in good form and good spirits, feeling positive. He emphasised the focus on the upcoming and games, saying that they're major. It's a major match. On the next game's always a major match for Celtic, and he wants to focus on that rather than the distractions that we've had at Celtic over the last couple of months. He's speaking about the style of play at Celtic. He went on to talk about the reverting back to the back four because it previously worked. He says, I'm not here to overhaul tactics mid-season. I want a return to the back four. It was a familiar approach from the players, a familiar approach that they were used to playing with the back four. There was nothing to change as far as he was concerned. Other managers have other ideas, and it's up to them if they want to change it. He basically made it. Short-term focus. He wants to revert back to what worked previously, and the return to the back four was a familiar approach. And he also says that with limited time for tactical changes, with the midweek games, we're back into, we're playing every weekend, midweek, midweek. He says that it's very difficult to make tactical changes in that time, so we just want to make it as basic as possible. And then he got into the joy about the transfer window. He did admit that, he says, I mean, everybody knows it, January is notoriously difficult for transfers. He knew this when he was out of management. He knew it when it was in management. And he went on to say that he's only interested in players who will genuinely improve the team. He says there's no board level restrictions. The backing is there. Players are being actively presented to Martin O'Neill, assessed, and he's rejected some players already. And I think that was it was heartwarming to know that Martin O'Neill was just not going to take any old player. He's obviously been given players that are being put forward by the previous club scouts and everyone, and it's interesting to know that Martin O'Neill's just went, fuck, he's not good enough for Celtic. I don't want to take him. Simple as that. It's like, no, end of. Players have been actively presented to him, and he said he's turned them down. And then he went on to say about some complications during this window. He said there's club-to-club agreements. That's, in other words, Celtic not paying the going rate for players. Celtic want to get players on the cheap. And then there's player competition from other clubs. So sometimes you get an agent that puts a bit of pressure, tells the player about another club that's maybe interested, and then that comes into it and slows things down a bit. Martin O'Neill said that we're relatively close on signings, but nothing imminent on new arrival. And he's open to short-term loans solutions if necessary. It does seem to be that the Celtic way. I mean, they've obviously offered Martin O'Neill a number of players, and he's went, these guys are not good enough for Celtic. Do you know if this is the way? It's no way. It's no wonder. I mean, Wilfred. There was obviously players lined up to come in. Excuse me, that Wilfred Nancy thought would fit his system. But Martin O'Neill's come in and said, these players won't do. They're not good enough. For whatever reason, only Martin will maybe tell us that sometime soon. Once he's finished, maybe he'll write another book, The Demise of Celtic. Talking about the squad needs players in, as we all know. When you look at the squad's mental. I mean, I was having a look at online, and we'll get to the whole Odom Ohm question once we went through this interview and the interview with Kieran Tierney. He acknowledged that the forward area needs strengthening, especially due to injuries. And Martin, we've been looking for a striker for a whole calendar year now. We needed 2 strikers in the moment that we sold Adamida. We brought in Kelechi and Iacho. Now, talking about bringing in some other old striker from West Ham that's past his best, that's gets injured at the slightest thing, I don't think is what Martin O'Neill really wants. Talking about Jota, no big surprise there, although there was many on this channel said, Jota's back in January. I've heard. I got told by a mate that was a mate that he's back in January. You're talking pish. When we look back the timeline, when you look back the interviews when Jota was injured, it did say that Jota was going to be out for a minimum of 10 months. You know, it did say at the time. And we're nowhere, I think it was April that he got injured. So there was no chance that Jota was coming back early. I mean, I don't know where these rumours started from, but I mean, I've stuck by saying that I didn't think Jota was coming back early. Martin O'Neill thinks he won't get back until the end of the season. The time he gets back onto the training pitch and then he's got to get fit. Everybody, the last time we seen him at Celtic Park, everybody looked at Jota and went, he's looking a bit thin, isn't he? He's sat on his arse for 10 months and not done anything. He's not sat on his arse, but do you know what I mean? He's not had any physical exertion on his body. He's not been going to the gym and you know, and it's 10 months that he needs to rebuild himself. You don't walk straight back into the team after a 10-month injury. And it's looking like the Jota won't be back until the tail end of the season. Could even be pre-season, because Celtic will not want to push him. You know, and Jota's not getting any younger as well. Jota should be coming into his prime. We should be getting prime Jota. It's going to be interesting to see if Jota can reclaim the form that he had before. There was a player that did it before, that snapped his ankle and and he came back and he had a fantastic career at Celtic. So I think Jota could do the same if you don't rush him and just allow him to come back in. Talking about Johnston, he says that Johnston is a player that will be back as expected. Johnston will be back around about the end of March, and that will give a little boost to the squad, but it's not ideal. It isn't ideal, is it? So where do we go from there? The January window is basically, you know, it is what it is. We'll wait and see who the club brings in for Martin. Johnson coming back around March. Kelechi, Callum dealing with hamstring issues. We know that they were out long term. They were out for a number of months. They're not going to be back anytime soon. I wouldn't have thought. I think that the Callum Osmond one, he acknowledged at the time that he was going to be out to the end of the season. So it comes to the defensive side of the pitch. Why is that picking up? What? Shouldn't be doing that. My computer's updated. Apple's updated, and it's now reading what I'm speaking. But anyway, getting to the Stephen Welsh situation. He recalls Stephen Welsh because we need a player that is fit, first and foremost. He's done well at Motherwell. He didn't want to bring him back just to piss the lad off. Didn't want to bring him back because, you know, fuck it, he's doing really well. Let's annihilate the guy's career again, which we seem relatively good at doing at Celtic. We now seem to have a list of players whose careers we've deviated from going in a forward and upward trajectory to absolute manifesting negativity around the player and bringing them to an absolute low in their career. We could name several players: Norobski, Lagerbelke, Odom Ohm, and people could say like it's just pure chance that they turned out to be rubbish and weren't good enough for Celtic. But at the same time, some of these players got injured, and it's just the way it is. So, with that being said, he went on to the fan anxiety and expectations. He understands the frustration of the January process. He reassures supporters that the club is working hard behind the scenes, but he refuses to shift the blame or make promises. He did say at the beginning of the interview, I'd like to come in here and blame other people within the organisation. Has Martin O'Neill been dropped in by Dermot Desmond to ruffle the feathers of the board, to take no nonsense, to not be a yes man? And ultimately, will that be the downfall of the powers that be at Celtic Park? That's an interesting one that we've never really thought of. And it could be the case that, Dermot Desmond says, Martin, go in and see what these shower of shit are doing, because I don't believe a word that they're saying to me. And manager after manager seems to be going wrong, so I know that you won't take any shit. And report back to me at the end of the season. Anyway, he says that the training and dressing room atmosphere, he described it as fine. Avoiding to exaggerate the phrase that everything was fine in the camp. That obviously everything is not fine in the camp. Still no idea about the Dies Maida situation. That one's been kept rather quiet, but we'll wait and see. He has huge respect for the Falkirk manager and expects it to be a tough game. And then we have to ask the question, well, why was Michael, Peter Schmeichel, why was Peter Schmeichel at training? Because my son used to play for Falkirk back in the day. That's where he started off. He's playing against Falkirk. Maybe we could get Peter Schmeichel in goals tomorrow. Maybe we can get the two Schmeichels in goals. Just get them standing there. Just for the hell of it. But anyway, on to Kieran Tierney and what Kieran Tierney said in his interview. He was asked about the recent turmoil, accountability of the players. Have the players taken it to heart? Asked Kieran Tierney how he's coping as a player. Because as a player at Celtic, he was never used to having a title fight that was so close. Celtic were always away in front. But Kieran said that, like, I was at Arsenal in the last couple of years at Arsenal, we were either top of the league or we were second. We were in a title fight. As football players, you love it, you enjoy it. It's something to get excited about because it means that you've got something to play for. And he says, like, look, at Celtic, it's not good enough to lose as many games as we did. It's a matter of fact. It's simple as that. And, it is what it is. Super Chats just came in. We will beat Falkirk. And the next one is Heart of Midlothian. Yes, we'll win that. We need any type of forwards. We have no youth. Yeah, we have no youth. Simple as that. We don't have any youth. It's ridiculous. We've no one that we could pull out of the youth department and bring into Celtic. That's why Callum Osmond was brought to Celtic. But back to Kieran Tierney. Kieran Tierney talking about the return of Martin O'Neill. He said it's like he's never been away. Training routines, preparation feels familiar. He said when we came back into training, obviously you see Sean Maloney, you see Fozzie in at training first of all. Everything's set up the way it was set up just a month before, and the continuity came back into Celtic Park. Training routines and preparation are pretty familiar. They're settled. There's a bit of a confidence boost. Confidence from the staff. That was the big takeaway from Kieran Tierney's conversation with the media. He said that you've got staff that wanted to motivate them, make them better. I seem to have the feeling that Wilfred Nancy came in and tried to ruffle the feathers of the Celtic players, and rather than say that they were great players and they were doing fine and they could, you know, they seem to have went down the road of, well, we all know what happened with Wilfred Nancy, and at the end of the day, it's he made his own bed, as you say, and he could lie in it. Let me just double check that I've got something switched on. There we go. Sorry about that. That should keep it cleaner. But get back to what Kieran Tierney was saying. He was saying that, look, losing games naturally damages confidence, and the weekend win helped restore some belief in the players and made them feel more confident and positive again. Not going to say that they're going to go out and do all sorts. Nobody's making any promises at Celtic. They know that they've got a fight on their hands, and they want to get down to business at the end of the day. Formation, personnel role, comfortable, different systems, positions. He was asked about playing in a back three. He says, look, I've played in the back three, I've played in the back four. You know, I like the challenge. Players like the challenge. It seemed to be that whatever went wrong with Wilfred Nancy was his inability as a manager to get across to the players exactly what he was wanting them to do. Hence the reason that he got the tactics board shout out, and yeah, we all know what happened there. But anyway, the hunter's mentality, the fact that Celtic are no longer front runners, the mentality remains simple. You know, he was asked if it's a hunter's mentality, if you want to hunt down and get back to, he said, no, you've got to win every game. Doesn't matter if you're top of the table, doesn't matter if you're third. At Celtic, you need to win every single game. It's as simple as that. There's another super chat coming. Let me just get this. David says, fail to prepare and prepare to fail. Celtic all over. Yeah, exactly. It's absolute bonkers. The way that Celtic are. I mean, I don't think that they have failed to prepare. I think what they've failed to prepare an elite level of player for the manager. And we'll get to that in a minute. But anyway, Kieran Tierney was asked about the atmosphere and the fan connection. The weekend result lifted the whole club. Did it lift the whole club? Well, it kind of gave everyone a boost, didn't it? Everyone was feeling a lot better after the victory. But with the fact that it's the transfer window that keeps bringing Celtic down, keeps bringing the fans down, and there's nothing that we can really do about it. But he said the weekend result lifted the whole club. It improved the atmosphere at Celtic Park, and he says he believes that wins can quickly reconnect the fans and the players. It would go a long way. I definitely think a run of wins would help that. It's not going to ease the pain between the club and the board. That's for certainty, because there's a whole lot of hate that's going to have to be resolved before there's any love bringing together and that, isn't there? Speaking about European ambition, there's big European games ahead. The previous managerial return led to a strong European performance, and he hopes that history repeats itself. Obviously, when Martin O'Neill come in, we got a good result. Wilfred Nancy come in, what a shite result. Let's hope we can get a good result. Bologna, game's away yet. We've got time to think about that. Anyway, that was what Kieran Tierney basically said in his match interview today. Now, there's a player that was on loan at Celtic, and there was a player that was on loan, and he was to come back at the end of December. Now, once again, we have 3 defenders out on loan. We've got Hateo Inamura, who is out on loan, a defender that's not been given any chance. He's been sent back to Japan, to Tokyo. We've got Rocky, big Mark Norowski, or Rocky, whatever you want to call him. He's still out on loan. He's only played, and you would think that he'd be the one that you would bring back due to the lack of game time, and due to the fact that Rocky's valuation has halved. since his time at Celtic. It is halved. He now has a market value of around about €2 million. He was valued at one point at €4.5 million. I think would they be buying for £4.3 million or something. He was valued at €4.5 million when Celtic bought him back in 2023, and his valuation now is at €2 million. You think that Celtic would bring him back just for backup rather than Stephen Welsh. It seems to be, but the reason that they won't do that is because Hanover have an option to buy. So people were asking, why didn't they bring him back? Why did they bring Welsh back? Motherwell didn't have an option to buy with Stephen Welsh, as where Hanover, they have the option to buy at the end of the season, and they reckon his market value is now down at 2 million. So it is an interesting one with Rocky. We've obviously seen the back of him. The same with Lewis Palmer in Poland. A winger. We're trying to bring in wingers and everything. When you look at Adam Montgomery, I think is he not injured though? But then there's the Odom Ohm question. Yeah, let's talk about Odom Ohm. Odom Ohm was put out on loan to America for a full year, a calendar year. Now, I know that he does have some kind of medical issue, but it's been alleged that Odom Ohm is looking already. I mean, I don't even think he's been seen. Has he been seen at training at Celtic Park? I'm not too sure if he's even been seen in training. But it's been said that Odom Ohm, who is only 22 years old, it's crazy. You would think we'd had him here for way longer, but he's only made 9 appearances in the MLS, which disappointed both clubs and player, but it's obviously due to the fact that he has an ongoing medical issue that has stopped him playing football, but he wants to go and play football somewhere else. There's something not right about this whole situation. And Celtic have been typical Celtic, very quiet on the situation. Tony says, I hope you have a better day tomorrow, Stephen. God bless you and protect you. I've not jumped into the comments yet to see what people are saying. Hope everything's okay with you, Stephen. I know that you've been in and out of. If I had Rocky, I'd buy Viagra. Jump. And there we go. LA Celtic made. If you knew the disabilities that Stephen Johnson had, you're a fucking scumbag. I'm going to say that. If you knew the disabilities that Stephen Johnston had, and the fact that he has a computer to do the typing for him, you're banned for the channel. And if I see you on the channel again, you're banned again. You're an absolute clown taking, giving someone that's severely disabled stick. You're just pure scum, honestly. Just pure scum. You've honestly no idea how ill this guy is. Absolute arsehole. Banned for the channel. I've banned him. And if I see him coming up with another name, he'll just get banned again. I don't know. People like Stephen Johnson are the salt of this earth. He's just got a fake name online, but this is what happens when you get people with fake names. They just think that they can come on and ridicule people, and it is a fake channel. It's just LA Celtic or whatever, but Celtic Made. He was on as Celtic Made before. He's had another channel. He's been banned before, and you know, he's a scumbag, absolute scumbag. I give Stephen Johnson the time of the day. I'm not even going to give the guy the time of the day. Stephen Johnson knows what I think about him, and you know, fuck these fucking anonymous clowns, total anonymous clowns. There's no people. There's no place for somebody like that in this community. There's no place for somebody like that in the Celtic support. I'm glad I was brought up with someone disabled in my family, and that I understand the heartache and the struggle that people with severe difficulties have. I'm glad I had a father that brought me up to show people with disabilities a bit of fucking respect and treat them just as a normal person. I mean, you get scum like that completely calling out someone because of his disability, you're just scum, mate. You're scum. But anyway, let's move on and let's not give them any more time of day, because that's what these troll wants. They just want a time of, they just want to take up time of day and feel important, when the reality is they're not important. But anyway, we move on as we always do. Martin O'Neill, it was a very interesting interview with Martin O'Neill. Let's get back into the comments. Do we think that Martin O'Neill is going to make many changes for the team? Will we still have the last team up on the screen? No, wrong one. That was how the team ended the last time. And yeah, so they are. Irishman and Portland. So they are. But anyway, we move on. Hopefully, I'll never see them again. That was the way that the team ended against Dundee United. It's going to be an interesting game tomorrow. Martin O'Neill has brought back Stephen Welsh for his sins. I think that Stephen Welsh is a player that will just be sitting on the bench. It'll be interesting to see what happens with him over the next couple of weeks if Celtic manage to get a defender in, since they allowed Jamal Simpson-Pouzy to leave. I don't know what type of defender they're going to try and bring in, if Martin O'Neill's going to bring anyone, because according to some media types, we're not even after a defender. Jed Johnson says, well done, Baz. Hail, hail, Steve Johnson, our brother. Yeah, he is that. And, you know, he's one of us. And we just, good to see that. I see people. Yeah. Stephen Johnson, I don't know if Stephen Johnson's still on, but he's getting a lot of love. He's getting a lot of love on the channel. And but anyway, Stephen Welsh, yes. What will Stephen Welsh do for Celtic? Will he be just sitting on the bench? Will he get any game time? Whilst everyone thought there was a certain Celtic player out injured, he's not out injured. When I see the team, do you think that there'll be many changes? Striker for Bundesliga, I'm not too sure about that. I feel sorry for Welsh. Chilwell says he feels sorry for Welsh. It's an interesting one that, you know, he gets brought back pure, and Martin O'Neill said it, like it's purely for selfish reasons. It's nothing to do with the fact that he's doing fantastic at Motherwell when we're trying to ruin his career. It's the fact that we've got rid of Jemai Simpson-Pouzy, who may have been on the bench for Celtic, never done anything at Celtic, but we need cover. It's as simple as that. And he's not only managed to bring back Stephen Welsh and ruin his career, a bit like other players at the club. But I'm just watching something. It does make me laugh. That was sorted itself out. But anyway, let's jump into your comments and see what we are saying this evening. Big Rab says, as Martin Neal said, Welsh told him he wanted to stay at Motherwell and play football. Welsh will not be a happy player. It's not his fault. Yeah, exactly. I mean, Stephen Welsh is meant to be sitting and going, I'm enjoying my football. It's the first time in years that I've had a decent run of games at the club. So I just want to play football. I don't want to sit on the bench. I've came through the system at Celtic. I'm not good enough. Do you know, I want to go somewhere else. Hence the reason that it was only last week that Celtic said that they're open to offers. Now, I still think that there's a possibility that if Celtic get someone in, it wouldn't surprise me if Stephen Welsh maybe went to Aberdeen on a permanent basis. But you never know how this thing might work out. Pope's in the house. Celtic are worse than my chapels in the play around twice and no coins because we were. Aye, aye, aye. Doesn't matter if you have an option to buy. He's a Celtic player. He can be brought back. Big Rocky is better than Welsh. Yeah, but I think that Celtic will be looking to try and recoup some of the 4 million that they spent on Rocky. You're not going to get 2 million for Stephen Welsh, are you? Is where you're going to get two maybe more million for Rocky, and it depends if they want to take up the option to buy, because if he's only played over a handful of games this season, they might think he's not made it. Do you know? He's not made it. Welsh could rotate with Trusty and Scales to give them a break. I think that they will need. He'll maybe play in the cup game, but then Welsh is going to go. Come on, I've came back to play against Auchinleck Talbot. Give me a break, man. Do you know what I mean? It's like, come on, I'm playing SPFL sides week in, week out, and you want me to come back just to play against Auchinleck Talbot so these two can get a rest? We need a big striker holding the ball up. Yeah, I'm not even trusted. Is Trusty injured? No, he's not. The team won't have many changes for tomorrow night. I don't think it will. I think if there's going to be any changes, I mean, we'll look at the squad. I mean, the squad's bonkers. Still nothing about Sriracha. Sriracha can't be too far away from coming back. When we look at the squad players, let me just do this. I'm going to just take myself down a bit. When you look at there we go. Look at the keepers. There's the 3 keepers that we've got. We all know who's going to be in goals. You look at the defenders. Alistair Johnson's out injured. Cameron Carter-Vickers out injured. You're left with Trusty and Scales at the back. Julian Araujo, he is in. Sriracha is injured. Dane Murray is usually on the bench. Donovan's usually on the bench. Ralston's on the bench. Stephen Welsh will be on the bench, and Kieran Tierney will start. It's not the best of and then you look at the midfield. The midfield's okay. You can understand why we're not in any real urgent need to bring in players, because who do you drop out? You know, I think that we'll only see real change once Rio Hatate leaves the club. You've got Benji, you've got Luke McCown, you've got Arnie Engels, you've got Paolo Bernardo, Rio Hatate, and Callum McGregor. When it clicks, it's the best midfield in Scotland. When it doesn't click, Rio Hatate's a lazy. Jota, who's out for the most of the season, that's no big news to me. I think that, like I said before, when you look back all the interviews at the time of Jota's injury, it did say that he was going to be out for a good 10 months. But people thought he was going to get back in January for some unknown reason. But, you know, the timeline was saying April at the earliest. And even if he gets back from April, you're not going to rush Jota into any kind of scenario. You're going to just let him get back into his fitness and then get him the full pre-season. You know, you want Jota building up his fitness and then getting the full pre-season and then getting the pre-season games. Because when you just throw them into the intense situation, you know, Celtic know that this has been a heavy-duty injury. You don't want to bring Jota back too quick. You take the hit on him being out for the season. You get him back, get him the games that every other player will get through pre-season, and then that should bring his fitness on for next season. It's not ideal, I know that, but it is the way that it is at Celtic. And then you got Shin Yamada, Callum Osman, Tinekti, Johnny Kenny, Dyson Maeda, and James Forrest all up front with Michelangelo Balak Wisher that far out the picture under the manager. It's weird. I mean, he told them that another manager might fancy him as a player, and then 4 weeks later he's back. Michelangelo goes away to the African Nation Cups thinking, we've got a new manager and I might get a chance. Walks back into training first day and he sees bloody Martin O'Neill standing there. Yang, there's still big interest from Yang. I was actually doing a shorts video for the price of Yang, what I think the valuation should be of Yang. I'll finish that off in the morning. Kelechi Iheanacho, who knows when he'll be back. Will we get anything of any value out of him this season? Shin Yamada, a waste of money. Callum Osman, he's one for next season. He'll be third choice striker next season and he'll start banging in goals, and we'll hopefully have a young player that can make an impact at Celtic. Sebastian Tinekti, how long can Celtic keep a hold of Sebastian Tinekti? Well, if he starts playing the way that he can play, he will be the next one to be sold for a big offer. Johnny Kenny, he's not cutting the mustard, really. Just not cutting the mustard at Celtic. And then you've got one away, Dyson Maeda and James Forrest, who will also be gone at the end of the summer, the end of the season. So yeah, anyway, that is the squad. Formation, it's obviously going to be a 4-3-3 formation tomorrow. I can't see there being too many changes. Have we signed anyone yet? Nah, we could go on. You could do a transfer during a normal winter window. There's usually quite a lot of transfer speculation and a lot of transfer videos done, but it's just tumbleweed stuff this year, isn't it? Welsh is interesting. If he doesn't play for us, he can be loaned back to Motherwell this season or to another club. He'll be sold. I think Welsh is ultimately coming back to be sold from Celtic. I think if Celtic, if I'm Stephen Welsh, I'm turning around to Celtic and I'm now saying, look, I've done all I can here. Do you know, when the transfer window opens on the next opportunity for me to leave the club on a permanent basis, Stephen Welsh's own agent will be pissed off with Celtic. Because Stephen Welsh's agent would have been thinking, yes, I'm going to get a little payday. You know, Celtic won't rid of the player. They're open to offers for him. It's not going to take big money for Celtic to sell Stephen Welsh. You know, $1.5 million, $2 million maybe at a push. If they wanted 3 million for Yang when Yang was rubbish, you've got to say that Stephen Welsh has got to be worth at least $1.5 million. So if I'm Stephen Welsh's agent, I wonder who his agent is. You'd be phoning Celtic and saying, right, I'm looking for a new club for my client. Can you tell me when he will be available for sale? ASAP. Because this club wants to move quite quick. Wouldn't surprise me. I would refuse to sit on the bench, hand in another transfer request if I was Welsh boys' careers on the line. I don't think his career's on the line. I think that Stephen Welsh is a player that will get clubs once he leaves Celtic. You know, he'll get Motherwells. He might get an Aberdeen. Do you know, he might get a Hibs or something like that. And then if he doesn't get clubs like that, you'll see Stephen Welsh. He could go down to the English Championship quite easily, and pick up way better wages than he's on at Celtic. far superior wages to what Celtic would ever dream of paying Stephen Welsh. Um, you know, and he'll go on and have a nice little career, which, as far as I'm concerned, is fantastic for the lad. You know, so anyway, we'll wait and see how that one works out. If I'm Stephen Welsh's age, there we go. We're just hearing that myself. Welsh is needed now because of the state of the squad. Yes, and that's not Welsh's fault. That is purely down to the. I still think. Sorry, I'm going to jump to the end of the comments here. I still think that Martin O'Neill has been brought back to the club to highlight the incompetence of the board. The more that I think about it, the fact that Dermot Desmond made all the phone calls, Dermot Desmond says, Martin, I want you back. When it all went tits up, when the board brought in a manager, all cuddles, you've still got to look at the video of Nicholson, the way that he cuddled Wilfred Nancy when he got out of that car. It was it wasn't like a man hug. That was like, all right, wasn't it? Like, all right, mate, no seen you for ages. That was a, oh, you're here to save my job. That was a you're here to save my job cuddle. And it failed. And I think Martin O'Neill's been sent back in with one mission, is don't accept any shite. If there's any real issues, phone me. But don't accept mediocre players. Do your job the way that I know you'll do your job, Martin, and do the best for the club. Do not. I want to know what's going on, what's going wrong, because I don't think that Dermot Desmond has been told the truth by Nicholson, Chris Mackay. I think that they're giving them their version of events to save their own arses, and I think that Martin O'Neill's been put in there till the end of the season to the fact that it was Dermot that phoned them again. You know, I mean, maybe we're wide off the mark with it, but the fact that Martin O'Neill would walk on water to get back to Celtic, do you know, it's a no-brainer. It's not even got time to think about it. But Dermond has to be thinking, you know, why is Martin O'Neill refusing players? If you're in a desperate need for players, why are you then turning around and going, he's not fucking good enough? Are you having a laugh? You're kidding on. This is what I have to accept. No, come on. This is Celtic Football Club, son. Do you know this is not the type of player that we need at Celtic. You know, we need players that are ready for the fight. We don't need prospects. And I think that they would have been given Wilfred Nancy prospect players, because it's not just you'll get us over the season, Wilfred. It's cool. I think that the Celtic board would be filling Wilfred Nancy's head full of nonsense, saying that you'll get your own players in. You tell us what prospect players that you think are going to do really well in the future, and we'll get them in for you. And Martin O'Neill's went with this list of players and says, no, this isn't players that's going to win you the league this season. I don't care if they're going to be better players in 2 or 3 years' time. I don't care if they're worth 50 million in 3 years' time. I want players that are ready for it right now. Anyway, no point in talking to inferior players. It's pointless. Yes, this is true. Lauren says, where are we finishing this season? What do you all think? I'm thinking third. That's where we're heading now. I'm not too sure. I mean, I think third could be. I mean, it is a massive possibility, and you know, Celtic have won by the fact that they've dragged the they've dragged Celtic backwards, but when we're still within touching distance. You know, there's 18 games to go. Nobody's ever won the league in January. Hearts have not really had a bad injury or a bad run of games consistently. I mean, I know that they've drawn 5 games, but that's not really I mean, Celtic have only drawn 2 games the entire season. Celtic never lose 6 games in a season. Straight away, I'm going to be honest, that's not championship winning form. Losing 6 games is not winning the league. It never has. I don't think that there's ever been a time where someone that's won, well, there maybe has. There maybe has been a time that a club that's won the league has lost 6 games, but never at Celtic. You know, I think that the fact that Hearts have only lost 2 games all season, Rangers have only lost 2 games all season. Hearts have drawn 5 games, Rangers have drawn 8 games this season. We need to go on a run and win every single game. And I think that that's the gauntlet that Martin O'Neill will throw down to the players. Can we win every? And it's not about even looking forward. It's just about taking every game step by step. And yes, we might lose or we might drop points against Hearts. We might drop points against Rangers. But I think that they will drop points also. But I think ultimately the damage was done under Wilfred Nancy. Wilfred Nancy done such damage in his month here that most clubs would struggle to have any kind of comeback. And if we do win the league this season, oh my God, what a turnaround it will be. The transfer window in January, it would take 3 minutes to talk about. The last day before it closed, the way it's going, yeah. What we'll do is we'll go live. How old is Forrest? And the last time we checked, he was 140-year-old, and the season was 1952. No, the season was 2035, and James Forrest has just been sacked as manager, and they've just wheeled out the 104-year-old Martin O'Neill to be manager again. 2-1, going to be a tough game tomorrow. Let's get some predictions for the game tomorrow. The Mankey Mob have spent 7 million. The richest club in Scotland have spent nada. This is true. Welsh is a better option than Murray, in my humble opinion. Welsh has had more experience than Murray. Murray's only 2 years into his sort of full professional first team, as where Stephen Welsh has been first team since 2020. So it's not looking good for us to Chris. No, it's not, is it? It's looking. Try and stay positive to the end of the season. That's all I'm saying. It's if we manage it, you never know. I think we'll get top of the league, 100% back in the boys. If we do, it will be the season of all seasons. You would need both clubs above us. I mean, if we win our game in half, I mean, then there's only 3 points, and that's not overturnable. I mean, Hearts draw 2 games. Say Hearts draw 2 games, but say the game's against Celtic. Say they draw a game against Celtic, and then they say they draw another game, but then Celtic. I mean, we really need to go on a run and hope. And when it gets to this end of the season, do you know, teams like Celtic and Rangers know that it's all about winning consistently. So we'll just wait and see. Martin O'Neill is a yes man. That's the greatest asset of the board, especially for snake oil, to sell snake oil to the fans. I don't think that Martin O'Neill is a yes man. If he was a yes man, we would have signed 3 or 4 players by now. If that's the case, you're saying that Martin O'Neill lied at his press conference today. So, Tithi, are you suggesting that Martin O'Neill lied at the press conference? That's a big statement. Because Martin O'Neill said, yeah, I've turned down players. I've rejected players that's been put in front of me. But then again, who knows? This doesn't get us a striker. No, it doesn't. We will finish champions. Whoa. Welsh recall was shocking. Sits on the bench the rest of the season. Was one of the best Scottish centre backs in the country in the moment. Is he one of the best in the moment? Don't think so. I'm not too sure. I have no idea, Jim Lister. I've seen that many players linked with Celtic. Esther Scholes, no idea. I've actually stopped looking at people that might get loaned to us. But anyway, I think we should sign an injury-prone striker on loan. Oh wait, we've already done that a couple of times. DD is playing chess, Solker. I was wondering. I'm just running through these. Some of the comments. The board do what Dermot Desmond tell them. If the board are doing what Dermot Desmond is telling them, then why is Martin O'Neill saying that he has rejected some of the players that's been put in front of him? Baz keeps saying Benji is a centre forward. Benji's not a centre forward. Where did that go? I've lost that one. O'Neill's an asset if he gets results for a club. He's more than an asset if he gets results for the club. Nygren is a centre forward. I'm not too sure. I don't know. Martin will do as he's told from Desmond. A scout network is null and void. Yes, it is that. Any object on the Uruguayan international? Not that I can see. I think that we'll just wait until it's been confirmed that someone's flying in for a medical, or we have confirmation that the deal's done and he's signing the next day. Because until then, I think they all hope that Nicholson will be sacked before a new manager comes in. Let's hope. I think Martin O'Neill's been brought in to ultimately show the board, show Dermot Desmond who's really. No point in taking inferior players. It's pointless. Jeez, loads of comments. There's 978 comments. I doubt anyone's slagging Martin O'Neill. Martin O'Neill is Desmond's yes man, says Titi again. Oh, it's hilarious that people think Martin O'Neill's a yes man to Dermot Desmond. When he blatantly sat at an interview today and says, no, I've turned down players. Turned down players because they're just not good enough. Anyway, Martin will turn Odin into a Viking king. Odin Ohm's getting loaned out again. He's getting loaned out again. He'll be nowhere near Celtic, which I think is just, there's something weird about the whole scenario. This board is doing nothing, have done nothing for years except take money out the club. Yeah, this is true. Martin is never a yes man, for fuck's sake. You're not your ass. Oh, Jesus, right. I'm leaving that. Who's the scout that when we signed Cadet, Di Canio and Van Hooijdonk? I can't remember. Jesus. Jim Lister, that was. I'll be honest, I was partaking in the rave scene far too much at that time to be highly interested in who was the scouts for Celtic, and my weekends were rather busy with football and staying up all night raving. Not saying that Martin O'Neill was not what was that? Not saying that Martin O'Neill is not a Celtic man, but he is Dermot Desmond's man. Well, if he was Dermot Desmond's man, and if he was to do what he was told at Celtic, if he's just been brought in to just take the players, get these players in. Why is he coming out in the press conference today and said, "Oh, I've turned down players"? Andy Tom was the best East German. Andy Tom was a fantastic player. Anyway, there's a reason why 60,000 Celtic fans sing Martin O'Neill, Martin O'Neill, Martin O'Neill, and there's a reason why you lot sit at home online. On that note, have an absolutely fantastic evening, Celtic fans, wherever you are, all around the world. Couple of super chats came in tonight. We will beat Falkirk, and then the next one is Hearts of Midlothian. Can we win? Yes, we need any type of forward. We have no youth. And then there was the one from David. He says, fail to prepare, prepare to fail. Celtic all over. And Tony says he hopes that Stephen Johnson is all good. And so did Jed Johnston. On that note, have an absolutely fantastic. Thank you for over the 1,200 comments. They two are back on the grass. Anyway, I'll see you in the morning.